It's Workers' Day. I mean, what's your take on the day?
It brings memories. Memories of the importance of organized labor. I was a very, very young person when we used to hear, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that standeth by the waterside. We shall not be moved.
Unfortunately, nobody taught me that.
Jallo is our leader. You can remember?
I remember Jallo, yeah.
That was the heart of organized labor, leading and participating in the struggle for self-determination and independence throughout Africa. I believe you know that Sekou Touré was a labor leader. The labor unions were allowed by the colonialists to be legal organizations, but political parties were not allowed to exist until we moved very close to the time to attain self-determination and independence. So most people who were activists for national liberation came from the labor movement. Just to give a brief history. Essentially, under current circumstances, if you look at Section 25 of the Constitution, it emphasizes the right to freedom of association. It particularly mentions unions and political parties, giving them different functions in society. In Doi, we call it people's democracy. If you say people's democracy, that's what people's democracy. Democracy is not simply going to elect the person of your choice, but how do you involve people in the administrative life of society to prevent most of the anomalies that people talk about is when you ensure that all sectors of society are organized. Unions become organized. Women associations are organized groups, youth, etc. So in all areas of society, like if you follow my street today, you see the market vendors. Edward Francis Small started the whole movement, organized movement for political change by emphasizing no taxation without representation, meaning that those who pay the taxes should have a say on what should be done with the money they are inputting in government coffers. And that is the basis of democracy, that what I own is money, putting it in the coffers of government, therefore that government should serve me and I should elect that government. It's as simple as that. The same thing with what should be happening, that I pay dues and duties to council. Council must provide me with garages, must provide me with markets. So it's a demand. And democracy is demand-driven. My right must be protected, and that's why you have freedom of association, which means at this stage, what has definitely happened under Jawara's government, Jammeh, and today, is to muzzle the freedom of association of the working people. If you are in the public service, in fact, you're almost rendered disempowered from being organized. And that is what society should do, empower all sectors of workers to be organized. So in that regard, I've had the Secretary General
Chairman of the Gambia Trade Union Bureau,
and he mentioned something very significant, and I will crown everything there.
Sure.
Indicating that when they were engaged in this so-called recycling of assets, labor is not involved. When you talk about post authority, labor is not involved in the whole arrangement of trying to build some form of public-private partnership. And it goes to all areas. And soon you will see it with the Gamtel Gamsel. You will see people being retrenched in a very sophisticated way, without severance pay. You don't see any form of protection of labor. And that is the most significant element in governance, is protection of a given group of society that works to make society to exist. So my emphasis is that no wages, no salaries, no public-private partnership that will give power to another authority to decide the fate of those who work should actually be done without the active participation of the leadership of organized labor. That should be legally established, in fact, not only legal, but constitutionally established. And let me emphasize the importance. Look at Ports Authority. We had dock workers complaining for almost a decade of being discriminated and exploited by virtue of the fact that they should have in fact received what had been due to them in foreign exchange, because all the forces that come and utilize the port see stevedoring to be an independent body, and they pay for it, and that they are not employees of the Ports Authority. They are not government employees. They should have a separate contract arrangement and should benefit. And when they showed us the calculation, every dock worker should have built a mansion.
Wow.
And after this program, I will ensure that the people who are in charge of their union will come. You invite them and you listen to them.
Sure.
It's best to get things from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely.
They've written to the Jammeh administration when he was here. They've written to the Barrow administration. Blank. They've come and engaged in this public-private arrangement, and they've not been involved. Stevedoring is not independent when it should be. And they should receive the gain, because it's their labor that will be utilized to ensure that the ports works, the port facilities work. So there is no doubt that the starting point of this government should have been to engage organized labor in the first place and transform it into an institution that will protect the interests of workers, so that in any contractual arrangement, the Ministry of Trade and Employment, the organized labor movement leaders will constantly meet, including the Office of Ombudsman, the Human Rights Commission, to look at the details of any contract to see that the rights, because these are rights, while the reason why they have freedom of association is right to be organized to protect their interests, to see that their interests is adequately protected. On this day, I would wish to emphasize that the government, as he rightly said, should open up a conversation with organized labor if it is genuinely interested in building the type of democracy that will serve the interests of the people. When the people are organized and express periodically, like today, May Day, all organized labor units would have sat down to take stock of their challenges and how they should be addressed. and put them together. And on this day, the executive will sit, the legislature will sit, the judiciary will sit, all relevant institutions established to protect the rights of the working people sit, and they engage in a conversation so that ultimately resolutions will be drawn that will impact on legislation, impact on policy. That's how you run a state of the people. We say the state must exist for the people, not the people existing for the state, paying taxes and do not benefit from the state.